Okay, all right, since we're on the record, I'm going to go ahead and call to order this regular meeting of the Planning Commission on November 7th at 2 p.m. Stephanie, can we do the roll call, please?
Yeah. It's for 293. You there?
Commissioner Buck,
Here.
Commissioner Byers,
Here.
Commissioner Hall,
Here.
Commissioner McNeena,
Here.
Commissioner Richardson,
Here.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Vicky, if you're on, you are on mute right now.
Here.
Thanks.
you do have a quorum.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, at this time, I'll ask if there's any declarations of conflict of interest from the board members.
No.
Seeing none, we'll continue on. Stephanie, we are going to do the certification of compliance with Resolution 2023-01.
I do certify that the meeting and properties were posted in accordance with Resolution 23-01 and in compliance with Section 5440 of the Municipal Code.
Thank you. All right, we'll go into 3, approval of the agenda. Commissioners, any comments or changes that you would like to make to the agenda?
None.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and approve the agenda as is and move into approval of meeting minutes for the last meeting, October 3rd, 2023.
I move to approve the agenda as is.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the
Second.
agenda. I have a second. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote of approval of agenda.
Commissioner Baugh,
Aye.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McNeena,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
motion carries.
Great. All right, let's move to approval of the last meeting's minutes, October 3rd, 2023. You should have that all in your packet. Any changes or corrections to the minutes? Okay.
No.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 3rd.
Moved.
All right, got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote on the meeting minutes from October 3rd, 2023.
Commissioner,
Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie.
Commissioner Baugh,
Aye.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McNeena,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye,
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
motion carries.
thank you. Sam, do you have a pen?
Here.
Extra pen? Okay, perfect.
There's a couple of them.
Thank you. All right. So we have the meeting minutes approved. Now we're going to go ahead and open the meeting up for public input. So for those that are here today or online, this section of public input for the commission meeting is for anything that's not on the agenda that you would like to address. If you're here to speak for an item on the agenda, you will get your opportunity later in this meeting. So this is for anything that is not listed on the agenda. Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public input and then move into the quasi-judicial public hearing. It looks like we have 3 items for this section. The first one, PV 2023-393. Sam, what can you tell us about this application?
Thank you. Our applicant is Eduardo Holguin, located at 109 Mountain Drive in the Carges Park subdivision. He is looking to encroach 9.5 feet into the north setback and 4.3 feet into the south setback as designated by the R1 zoning district, to place a manufactured home. And do we have the applicant here with us? If you want to come to the front table. And
So you can sit right here in the middle, sir, and then we'll go ahead and swear you in. If raise your right hand and say, tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. So tell us a little bit about the variance that you're requesting today.
It's, gets my lot, it turns like this in a circle, so I'm like 4.5 feet short. So that's why I'm doing, we requested the variance.
Variance, yeah.
Just to, I want to do everything correctly. I got the professional plot guy, and he said to do this, just to make sure I'm within the boundaries, you know.
Okay. Thank you. And so this was created for you for this purpose, correct? Okay,
Dennis, I forgot his name.
bridge. Okay. And so you'll need a variance 9.5 feet into the north setback and then 4.3 feet into the south setback, correct? Okay. All right. At this time, then, thank you, sir. We can open it up to see if there's any public comments. And then if there are no public comments, then we'll have you come back up and then the commissioners might ask you some questions about this variance. So that's kind of the general process. So, anybody for public input on this one? Sir, if you don't mind, sorry. And then, sir, you can take a step back and we might have you come back down here in a moment. Zach? Yeah, okay, yes. Do you mind? I swear, tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Okay, thank you. And then state your name for the record
My
as well.
name's Doug Orr, and I live right directly across the street from this person. And I have no objections at all with this. He's jumped through every hoop that there is to make it right. And I think he'll just improve the properties in our area, you know, the areas.
Okay, and you're directly to the north of him? You said?
I'm directly to the west.
To the west,
The
okay.
west. Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. And thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay. So if you, at this time, I'll go ahead and close the public input. There'll be some questions from the commissioners for the applicant, but at this time, we'll close public input. Commissioners, what questions do you all have for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Josh?
how are you going to access your structures? Where's the porch is going to be, the stairs? I don't see it anywhere on this proposed drawing here, so.
It's gonna be, I guess, on the north, the house is gonna be facing north. And once I have the house there, I can, I have to get a permit from, the village and do the, like a little deck or stairway. I'm gonna do like a wheelchair, path because my mom is handicapped. So I'm gonna have to, get a permit from you guys and do that.
So this encroachment is going to be actually more than what it is, what you're saying today? Because you're going to add on to the,
Well, the stairs, just to, you know, at the manufactured home, I need stairs, because it's pretty.
another 4 or 5 feet wide, 6 feet wide?
Well, whatever the handicap porch is. It's gonna take.
Okay. I'm also seeing a storage building at the very back. Was that there when you bought the place, or did you put that
No, I
there?
put that a long time ago.
Okay. Typically, you can't put a storage building before you put a structure. That's why I asked. Okay, Mr. Chairman, no more questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, other questions for the applicant?
I guess the only thing is, to Josh's point, is if this requires an additional variance because you're gonna put in 4-foot wide stairs, why wouldn't you just ask for that right now? Yeah. That's the only, and show that on the plat.
There's plenty of room there.
But it's already not gonna be,
Yeah.
it's already not gonna be.
When you put the manufactured home, the stairs that they gave you is, it's very steep and.
Yeah, I
So I wanna
understand,
put something where my mom can go.
yeah, I understand that, but you're modifying it, you're gonna put additional, if you put a handicap, it's a ramp, it's gotta come up a certain grade, it's
Yeah,
gotta be a certain width.
which I'm gonna get a construction company to do it. I wanna be in regulation.
Which side of the building is that gonna be on?
It's gonna be on the north side.
I'll see, that's your already,
Already encroaching in that one?
yeah, that's your biggest encroachment according to this.
And just so I have clear understanding, on this, the proposed manufactured home is this building right here. Is this a driveway or, because there's a section of
The
it,
driveway is where the arrow they out there.
so it'll come up that direction?
He's showing 10 foot 9 inches.
Because I asked around, and they said they don't see any problem with you putting that, the extra stair or the ramp.
Is it 15.7?
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
I do see the lot size, it is irregular, and developing it in any way is going to be a challenge.
Right.
And as you go further, I believe it would be east, it gets further away from the actual property line encroachments based on the very far corner that is closest to that pinch point. So as you go on back, if the stairs were pushed further towards the east on that north side, you really don't have any more encroachment than is, I would suspect anyways, just looking at this little plat. But it may not exacerbate it.
Right. And Sam, question for you, this, does the manufactured home that's proposed here exceed the density requirements in terms of like the size of home and the lot size?
So we don't have a density requirement for the actual primary structure. And then as far as encroachment into the front yard for a covered deck or entryway, he would have to ask for an extension of that 9.5 feet into the north.
I asked Dennis, and he said he doesn't see any problem with the stairway. And I said, well, I'm gonna put this and this, and he's like, yeah, you shouldn't be any problem with it. You should have plenty of room.
Yeah, I think the issue at this point is if you do add that in, it's not included in this application, so there would need to be another variance, unless we just agreed to it today.
Can we do that? Can't do that.
Typically, we can, I mean, we can extend the, instead of the 9.5 that he asked for, we could say it could go further, but, and Sam, for my clarification, so the minimum front and corner setbacks for this property, what would be considered the front and what would be considered the corner? Because there's two roads, and it's an oblong, odd shape.
We would consider the front entryway to be his front, and that's what he was calling the north side.
Okay, so 109, so that would be,
If that's gonna be a problem, then I won't do the wheelchair. I'll just put some regular steps on it.
Yeah, I think if you did a parallel with the home, that
Yeah, I can
you
do
could
that and just parallel and
get away with not taking up as much space to the front.
Yeah.
And there's more room on the south side. Yeah, because you're
there's
looking,
plenty of room.
yeah, I mean, I think you'd be better off there. It's a little further from,
Yep.
and with the 20-foot setback, he would be encroaching based off this plat, kind of regardless.
yes. Yeah.
Because it's only, what's the total length on the lot? 80 feet?
100 feet and then 98.6.
Yeah.
On the widest point.
Yeah, to the corner, it's 48.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So on the south side, does that read, and forgive me on my blindness, is that 13.7 feet?
I think
Or
it's
18?
15.7 feet. So there'd need to be a variance every which way, literally all directions, if I'm reading this correctly. Because the minimum, well, I guess not the,
The lot is pretty big. We can always move the house a little bit or make it to where the dimensions are within standards.
You could move it north, east, and still have plenty of room on all sides, I think. And then just run the stairwell down the side, or the ramp down the side of the house to the, is that the proposed garage, that shed that's illustrated there, or where's the garage to be?
I think the, Commissioner Williams, the garage is there. In the photos, there's a tan building.
Yeah, that's already there.
It's already there on the site.
Okay,
It's a storage room.
Okay.
It's one of those little storage.
yes, yes.
If that weren't there, it'd be pushed back.
Yeah, because he has 12 feet to go back from the side variance. But I still don't know. I can't see the length of this longest side here on the right, on the east side of the property.
100.83.
It's not there.
Eighty point seven.
Yeah, at 80.7.
And that's adequate, 75 feet across and 100 feet deep. Yes, that,
Typically, variances are given due to hardships. I mean, I don't see a hardship here other than that you bought too small of a lot and got too big of a house. I don't, I mean, due diligence would have told him before he bought the lot, couldn't put that big a house on there, and also couldn't put that storage shed on there before he did it.
If the storage shed isn't there, that, you can slide that building back.
All the way back.
All the way back and not have any issues.
I think there's still it would need to be a variance, because if it's, no, I guess it's only
Right.
20 feet.
Yeah, because it says you've
Because I
got,
talked to Dennis and I talked to Dave, and they didn't see any problems with it. He says that you got plenty of room for everything. Because Dave is my inspector, and he said, no, I don't see any problem with it. You just gotta go through this, and variances, you're only 4 feet, you know, on that corner. But we can move the house eventually to where it's standard.
Yeah.
It's only 4 feet that I gotta move. It's only, we can move it around and to be within the standard.
Okay,
And that's coming from Dave and Dennis, so.
right. Yeah, which, very fine opinions. We have to go off what we see on the map.
I understand.
And with the numbers that we have here, there still is a need for a variance, so,
And I asked for, Dennis, he's like, well, let's do this correctly, and I asked for a variance to make sure I'm doing everything correctly, I'm going by the book.
Yeah. Commissioners, other question for the applicant or any other discussion points?
I guess the one question would be willing to remove the shed to be able to move the building further back to the back property line, because you've got 32 feet there.
Yeah.
You can go right back to the 20-foot offset.
I can move it all the way to the end, and if I see the problem with the shed, I'll get rid of the shed, you know, just move it a little 4 feet, which I need, because I asked David that, and he's like, you can move it back, and you'll be within standards.
Yeah, I think if you move it back to the back line, what's 20-foot offset off the back property line, and you've got 32 feet there, you've got 12 feet, you can move the building back. You just have to, the shed looks like you could move it.
Yeah, it's,
You know, if you did that, you don't need,
and
it doesn't
he
look
said,
like.
you will just move the house over here, and you'll be,
So we can amend it, or?
Yeah, it's probably a question for table this. It could, there's a configuration, we believe, that would allow for the property to be utilized without a need for a variance by moving the proposed home closer towards the east, that east property line.
northeast.
Would it make sense to table this or to vote on it as, I mean,
As per changes that we make,
as per changes that we suggest.
yeah.
Yes, that's fine. And the shed, it seems that it was not properly permitted. And so we would need to work with him on that end of it. And so all of the hearsay that came from Dave Myers with the placement of the property is irrelevant and shouldn't be used. The first step would be the planning commission, and so them reconfiguring where the placement of this property, I think, would be most beneficial to the planning of this.
Yeah,
So you need a permit for a shed that small?
120 square feet or larger, yes.
It's small, it's a small shed.
You still need a placement permit, you're placed in the setbacks.
I didn't know that one. It's just a little small shed where I can put my little stuff there. You know, if I would've known that, I would've done that.
And we wouldn't permit accessory structure before primary.
I've had that one for like 5 years now, 6 years.
so I think there would still need to be a variance, if I'm understanding this correctly, just because the existing storage structure that was there is only 18 feet from the front property line, according to this plat map. And so this manufactured home would still need a variance into that, even if it was moved over, unless he moved it over and then somehow is able to move it back as well.
And if you all did wish to grant the variance that is requested, we would ensure that the placement didn't encroach any further into the setbacks than what was approved by you all. So whatever it is that the board deems fit.
Okay. Commissioners, what are we thinking?
I really believe, Chairman Riley.
Yep,
Sorry.
Rigsby, but you know, if you can get Alan back, I'd be more than happy to have him back.
Oh, no, you're there now. Anyway, I believe as well that this could be reconfigured to fit in without all of these variances. And as the shed was not permitted in the first place, I don't know that a variance should be given for it. It can be moved and combined with the house on that piece of property, really. I believe adequately without all variances.
Okay,
I'm only 4 feet.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like
So-
it's like super, anyways.
Commissioner?
Well, basically what I understand is that it sounds like everybody might be agreeable if this were moved all the way to the back, to the minimum or, you know, or the maximum, whatever you want to call it, as far as to the setback.
Yeah,
Which would be
And
20 feet,
then
right?
whatever it ends up remaining encroaching on that.
I think a minimum would be 15, right? We
It's,
could
uh,
variance to 15,
No,
but that
actually-
would be it.
10 on the
The
sides.
setbacks are gonna be 20 from the full side roads and along the curvature, and it'll be 10 feet from that east side.
So if we moved it all the way to 10 feet from the,
Yeah, so
basically Lot 8 property line,
Yep,
and
Is that not the rear?
You're still gonna need a
The
variance, so
property.
there's not enough room there, he's gonna need a
it'll
variance.
still encroach a little,
You betcha.
yeah. But with the irregular shape and those lots over there, you know, it's,
yeah.
I'm not gonna be blocking anybody,
Yeah.
it's just.
Well,
Certainly understand.
Big, so we can move it around, figure it out, and
Is there any
Com-
sort of regulation?
Commissioners, I mean, there's been discussion on this, Vicky. I do agree in general with your statement. Happy to entertain a motion or more discussion. I think there needs to be a change to the proposed plan, the plat, and I do think there still is going to need to be a variance. So,
the way Dennis had it, it's like way over here, but he said like you can move it down and you'd be good to go.
yeah, I appreciate
Down
that.
to the east.
Appreciate that, but that's what we have.
We gotta go off the plat map and, you know, what the code says itself and whether it's an undue hardship on you. So, very open to entertaining a motion, but, I think for this one, to what Sam recommended, which was we can suggest changes and then we can do a variance no greater than, so that way we can continue on with the development. But that would minimize the variance setbacks that we would have to give. And we could pair in the structure that was already there for another permit.
What is the recommendation of not greater than?
That is another good question. So where the storage shed is right now is 18.7 from the front setback, it looks like.
The shed is probably, it's gonna be
Yes.
away from the house. If you look at the shed, the house is gonna be towards the south, and the shed is probably gonna be not even blocking the house or anything.
Yeah,
If I can show you very quick.
The shed's gonna encroach somewhere.
That's
If we
fine.
move the shed anywhere,
But
the
no.
shed's gonna encroach somewhere.
Yeah.
We can
Sheds,
rearrange chairs so much, and we're still on the same deck.
I can always move the shed.
I don't know how close a structure can be to a meter.
yeah, I don't know.
He starts,
That's a question for Sam.
Sam,
Is there a, because there's that electrical meter right there, is there a certain distance?
Movable.
Yeah,
We'd have to work with that during, building permits. I'm not sure what they.
Yeah, that's up to
okay.
The
the
meter
power
is probably
company and the,
more towards the property line, so I don't think I can make it more work.
yeah, you can see that meter right there. Pedestal and
The house,
That far.
he's gotta have a meter anyways, usually they're on the house.
north, house is gonna be more the south side.
All right, thank you, sir, and thank you for your comments today. I think at this point, the commission has the facts as they are stated, and I think now we just need to determine the best path forward as a board, so. If anybody has a strong opinion or would like to make a motion, Vicky, I know that you kind of stated your opinion earlier.
Yes, but there, hang on, let me get to the,
I don't see the hardship.
What is your time?
No, I don't
What are you
either.
looking to get this done?
1 second, Vicky. We have a question.
yeah,
As soon as possible, sir.
So you've already got the house purchased, you've got your sewer permits, electrical permit, everything else is ready to go.
I'm working with Dave. Dave's been working with me, and he
He's
talked to
like
me,
working.
he's like, I don't see any problem, but
Do you have
If
permits
it-
in hand?
no, I'm working with Dave right now. I just need this
Yeah.
right now, so I can continue. I'm retired military, and just, that's gonna be like my wife and I,
I mean, there could be we could say within it, the individual needs to move the property as far east as possible, allowable by setbacks, and then no more variance than 5 feet
On
in
the
front
other
or
side.
back.
right,
So then
okay.
that would center it on there, and then he has 10 feet to work with on the north and south side. And I think that would
Work. Cover everything.
Cover.
Cover everything.
I'm good
absolutely.
with
The
that.
shed can go to the east side.
can go to the east side.
Side or the other
Yeah.
side, somewhere else, other than where it's at.
That'll give him his wheelchair access, either or.
Do you have either of your contractors with you?
no, no, ma'am.
I don't know if you could hear that, Vicky, but he said no, he doesn't have
Yeah,
anyone with him.
But I'm gonna be working with him,
good here.
and, I told him to, work, to you guys' standards, so.
Yeah.
He's gonna do the permits and he's gonna do that, everything, by the book.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
right.
I just don't know how to word that.
I
You
don't
said it
either.
perfectly.
Yeah, and I think you just add that, so it says, the planning commission staff recommends the following conditions be placed. So another condition would be,
But the
moving, that the property,
structure is moved to the,
10-foot
10-foot
setback
setback
on
on
the
the east. On the east. And centered in the,
Farther,
Lot.
yeah,
yeah,
as an additional condition on it.
yeah,
And then that should take care of it.
Yeah.
Then what do we do with the storage shed? Has been another variance on that, or, I mean, where are we gonna go?
Well, he's got to find a place to put it.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
gonna be a
it was,
problem. I can-
it was not constructed and placed according to regulations, so
It wasn't permitted.
it wasn't permitted, so.
Yeah, it'll have to be moved
Can
regardless.
I get a permit now? Since can I do that? Because when I first came here, I wasn't, I didn't know about,
I can,
no permits or anything, and this is just a small shed. Everybody was telling me that, I don't see any problem with it, it's a small shed.
Yeah.
So
I
didn't
think you
know-
can, I think Sam was nodding her head, so we can work with you
Yeah,
on that
work
one.
with you
I
on
didn't
that.
know, but if I have to, get it done, I'll get it done. I'll get the permit and pay, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Stephanie, were you able to jot down the additional conditions that we would want to drop in there? So,
Not quite, it was a little muddy.
okay,
was
so I
waiting for
think
something clear.
one of the conditions is that the manufactured home is moved to the 10-foot setback on the east side,
Which adjoins lot.
which adjoins lot 8, I believe.
Lot 8.
And that a variance be granted no more than 5 foot in the front or the rear setback for this new home placement.
If we can just get the motion to reflect that, since we're not requesting the variance that he asked for.
Okay. So the language that you would suggest for the motion, I move to grant the requested variant, or grant the variance as described, or,
Yes, not to encroach more than 5 feet on the north and east side lot lines,
north and south side.
north and south.
Does that make sense to the commissioners?
not more than a 5-foot variance on the north and south sides of the lot, which both require a 20-foot setback, right?
Correct. So then it would be at most 15 feet on either the north or south.
15 feet on each
Yeah.
side. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
And, but,
Yeah,
and
just-
then what are we doing with the, shed?
I think the shed would be required to move by the nature of the variances.
I don't think you have to say.
Still have to figure that out.
Yeah, they can,
Yeah, to fit upon it would have to be removed or moved. It
Yeah.
would have to be removed from its current location.
You can place that as a variance,
Condition.
I mean, a condition to be placed in here that the shed needs to come into compliance with, the chapter 54
Okay.
and be permitted.
You guys are gonna help me with that, right? The shed, so it'll be,
Yeah, so when you work with the building department and to get your permits, they would say, hey, this is where the shed needs to go. And Sam nodded her head that she'd be willing to work with that, so.
I'll do that.
And you got that condition, Stephanie? Okay,
Yes.
all right. So
Mr.
somebody still needs to
Chairman?
make a motion.
based upon the foregoing findings of fact per 54-92, 54-140, and 54-66 of the Village Code, I move to grant the requested variance for case PPV 2023-393 with the conditions stated in this case report and as
Amended by?
amended by the Planning and Zoning Committee.
Okay. We have a motion for the requested variance. Just, I think since the requested variance, we were altering the requested variance, I think we need to say a variance no more than 5 feet in the north and south.
Okay.
To your motion. But there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion second. We'll go to a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ball,
Aye.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McLean,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Motion carries with the modifications to the conditions.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, you'll have to sign some paperwork for the village now. But you have a variance pending all the conditions that we stated here, so,
You can move forward now.
yeah.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Yep. We'll move forward to the next one, vacation sale of right-of-way. So this is PB 2023-400. Sam, what can you tell us about this request?
Thank you. We have the property owner with us, Richard Lovren. He's petitioning to vacate 2,455 square feet of public right-of-way on the east side of his property. The address to the property is 714 Meacham Drive. However, the portion that he's can you all please go outside? Outside. Is along the back side of his property.
Okay, thank you. And we have the applicant here. You mind coming up front and kind of telling us a little bit about what you're looking to do here? And then also, if you don't mind, raising your hand, swearing to tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Swear to tell the truth and nothing but.
Yes, I do.
Thank you, perfect.
My name is Richard Lovren.
And do you mind moving the mic just so that way we can pick it up? Thank you.
My name is Richard Lovren, and first of all, I'd like to thank the commission for your service, because I know what you all do. And it's a lot of work. We bought the building from Dr. Spence. It used to be Tall Pines Medical. Kind of put your bearings in there. A couple points that I'd like to bring up is when, that Country Club Drive went straight before it curved like it does now. And Cedar Creek Market, which is right to the north of us, next door, had a portion of the right-of-way vacated by the village some time ago. And their southeast corner that they're at now with the vacated portion is further down towards Country Club than our corner is now. So after they got their vacated portion from the village, they obtained a little bit more line down towards the Country Club. Our driveway from Country Club to Meacham is used by drivers consistently as a shortcut to bypass from Country Club to Meacham, so they don't have to go down to Cree Meadows and hit the stoplight. They bypass the stoplight by doing that. Dr. Spence mentioned that it was a safety hazard when he owned the building for his clientele coming in and out. And of course, this is a major concern to us with the business that we're going to put in, the liability and the hazard. It's amazing how many people will use Country Club Drive and use that street or that driveway going into Meacham to bypass. We personally don't see any negative impact on that location and area, especially since that road was curved from Country Club over towards Meacham. I can't imagine that the village would ever change the direction to go straight again, because it dead ends to the stoplight. And of course, it's safer, more accessible towards Cree Meadows Drive. And of course, we're trying to resolve the safety issue also by getting more of the right-of-way vacated to us. The right-of-way that's there now is 100-foot. It's not a 50-foot, I guess you'd call it normal 50-foot right-of-way. It's a 100-foot right-of-way, which to me seems pretty excessive for that street. Our request to vacate a portion is, if it was approved, it would perhaps allow us to put a sign or a barrier of some sort down closer to Country Club to prohibit through traffic, again, which would help on a safety issue. That northeast corner comes up towards that office building quite a ways. So the Village Ruidoso, they use the Village Ruidoso right away to get into our property and bypass to Meacham. So there's no utilities. I had to add them out there, and it shows that on the survey. There's no utilities in that vacated portion. And I appreciate your help on it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Just for clarity, this would be a recommendation to village council from this commission. So there'd still be another step after this, as I'm sure Sam and everybody laid it out, but just for everybody that's here. If there's nothing else, we'll open it up to public comment right now. And then we will probably get you back up here for questions. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, you can actually just stay put. No public comment. We'll move on to questions from the commission.
So, just to clarify, it's this stretch right here, on this picture, it's that like little driveway. Is that,
Yes, you see where you see the word Country Club? Is that on the street? Yeah, it's that portion off of Country Club that goes up behind the building.
Yeah.
So it's,
In fact, where that first car is parked, in the parking lot in the back, that's probably in the right-of-way, close to it.
So I just wanted to clarify for the record, there are utilities in this easement, so we wouldn't allow anything to be built within this hash marked, even if you acquire it and combine it into your lot.
right.
We have Adam's note here saying there's utilities in the easement.
So I thought he said it was out of our requested portion.
There's water and sewer in it, according to Adam.
Okay? Yeah. No,
I mean, if you're gonna use it for parking lot, that'd be one thing, I think,
yeah, we're not gonna build on it.
yeah.
Yeah. But you can see how nice that driveway is and how they shortcut through.
Yeah,
It's pretty dangerous.
I'm sure.
Commissioner Williams, did you have a question?
Well, is there a way to state that it can only be utilized for parking lot purposes?
Well, if there's
And
utilities,
is
they
there
have,
a
they
study
would allow
needed
anyways.
as far as, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't sell it to him, and then can you dictate what it's used for?
Yeah, I think it would be, the code itself would limit development of the property just because there's water and sewer underneath there, even with the vacation.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
I mean, he's asking for the whole Country Club Drive easement from his property line to property line. That's not gonna, I mean, I see the side road he's concerned with, but we all know Country Club is a very busy road, especially during the summertime. And, I mean, as far as future development, as far as trying to make that a bigger road, I mean, if we vacate a right-of-way now, in the future, we're gonna have to go back and do something if we need to make Country Club a bigger road.
Try to buy it back.
And I believe our street manager backed that up. So, much as I would like to see some safety issues resolved by trying to take away that side road, I mean, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot later on down the road.
That's a right-of-way, and that's owned by the village. Can't the village just close it off?
I don't know about the side road, but I'm just talking about
The drive, I think, goes through his property. They go through the village right away, but the drive is on,
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's on, yeah.
And it goes, you've got 100-foot right-of-way, and on the south portion of the requested cell would be 20 feet out of 100. On the north side, the requested out of 100 feet is 30 feet.
Mr. Lovren, if the intent is to stop the through traffic to that back side road, why don't you just chain the driveway across?
So you can't park in the back and the front?
So you can't have through access to the back road? The general public, I mean, you all could get off your vehicle and undo the chain or the gate. But the general public wouldn't be able to cut from Meacham down to Country
Well,
Club.
first, our goal is to have employees park in the back and use Country Club as the access. And then customers, clients would come in off of Meacham, which is more likely.
But in theory, I mean, you wouldn't be prohibited there if there was a fence, chain, or just communication to your staff to say, hey, pull through on, because there's a pull through on Meacham to that back alley, or to the back parking lot, correct?
Yes, it goes on the north side of the building from Meacham to Country Club. But 30 feet of it, well, the 30 feet requested is not even in the, well, it could be in the easements, but it's not in the ditch, so to speak. You got the ditch and the pavement, so it's not even that close. But I don't know how I can put up a gate, or if I want to put up a gate, and if I do, it's going to be on the Village of Ruidoso's land.
And
And that was something that wasn't, I don't even think I could put a sign up on the Village of Ruidoso right away, legally.
Do me a favor, come draw right here on this aerial view so I can get a better understanding what is, you know,
Probably going to go,
what's you know, the property line versus the right-of-way that you're looking at.
the property line, I'm going to say, give or take, is here. Goes at an angle.
Okay,
And then I think the 30 feet would come here and about 20 feet about here. So this, we're requesting,
so this is the village stuff right here.
right, down here. Yeah, our property
And then
line-
this driveway comes across here.
Right,
And you're wanting employees to park over here and
Right.
customers to park here.
right.
So if you put a chain right here, employees could still park over here and customers are here, but nobody could get from here to here with
Well,
that. And you-
that wouldn't be ideal because somebody might come, an employee might come up here and then they gotta, it doesn't seem like this real,
And just,
Yeah, I get you,
you know.
but, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't think
I-
I like that. I mean, I'm using it right now
right,
Right,
for nothing. And this way the village would make a little bit of money, not a lot, but, and if we had to change, the request in square footage, we could always modify that. The one thing that concerns me a little bit, where are you at here again?
well, see, yeah,
Is,
my thought if it meant,
is this line, if we could, you know, if we could maybe come down even a little bit more here and bring this straight across, because this Cedar Creek Market's probably, it's probably down about here.
yeah.
So the vacated portion, the village already vacated, is further down than my current corner. So when the village vacated, when they changed this road to go
Right.
straight, they vacated a portion to Lynn Star, which is further towards Country Club than my existing corner. If I
thank
could-
you.
so
maybe I
even
could-
if we wanted to expand the road, we'd have to reclaim what you already gave up to Lynn Star at that point. Is that what I'm understanding?
I would think so, but I don't know.
There's
I
large
don't-
portions of that track, that corner lot that are held by easements
I don't know
and
why the village would want to
utility
do that
easements.
with Creed Meadows Drive and the stoplight.
Put a sidewalk in, connect a bike path. I mean, there's other uses besides motor vehicle. Question from me, there's a proposed addition and a proposed deck on this plan that we have that would eliminate the problem that you're describing about through traffic from Country Club to Meacham. Are you gonna go forward with those items?
We're not sure.
Okay, because if you put a building in the way, people won't drive
Right.
through. So, based off that, I didn't know if you were confirmed going through with that plan to add on to the north side. Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, other questions?
Is the street manager here?
No, he's not here with us. He was anticipating any future development or growth, though.
I was just wondering what his objection was to this when he wrote this up.
Just that he saw a use for the right-of-way, and, he didn't want to see us lose that width. And currently, there's a dumpster in that right-of-way.
Well, the other thing in the general area that you've got there, there's a real runoff issue from Albertsons across the street. And that drainage and that's gonna have to be resolved, so giving up right away without that problem resolved, I'm not sure that's the smartest thing we should be doing till that's fixed. Cause it's right across the street.
One thought if that is not acceptable, if we could keep this line the same or bring it down maybe instead of 20 feet, 5 feet, and come over to see the Central Street Market is probably right here. And we're here. So even if we could square this off a little bit, that might be an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Central Street Market, the restaurant market is about right here. Our corner's there. And when they vacated the village, their corner's further down than ours. If that proposed, Dennis Rich thought that was be acceptable, but if we couldn't, maybe we could square this off a little bit more and ask for, instead of 20 feet, maybe 5 feet over here and another 10 feet here, so, square it off where it's not in the lane.
Well, the other thing that I see here, since it's already noted there's utilities in the easement, I'd like to see where those utilities are on this plat before we make a decision.
Right, we don't have any intentions whatsoever. Well, I don't think anybody would ever build
But you
in
may
that
not.
area.
Yeah. The vacation of the purchase would go with the property still, so your guarantee may not be future.
But you could put some verbiage in there to where landscaping, parking, or whatever only.
Right. It is a recommendation to the council, so not that we need to hurry through this decision, but the decision is not going to be made today. Commissioners, just as a reminder there. And the three options we have are approval, modification, or denial of this request.
I guess I'm not seeing the need for the vacate. He still wants to utilize the driveway on Country Club for his parking, for his employees. What's the need for the vacate? I don't understand why we're needing to vacate there. He's still able to park on the easement at this point. He still wants to utilize the driveway. It's his driveway to block off if he wants to. What's the need for the vacate? I don't know why this is even at where it's even before us. I don't know.
Right, but I can't barrier or chain it or put a sign up on the Village Ruidoso property.
But you don't want to, sir.
Trespassing or anything.
You don't want to, do you? I mean, do you still want your employees to come in off Country Club? So,
We want our employees or customers to be in the back, but I don't want the drive-through traffic.
okay, so you
And I
couldn't
was
put a
already-
chain like up there where your proposed open deck would be? I mean, that would kind of stop someone from coming.
Well, it's a long ways up. And then they can, then they.
I'm just saying, I mean, you could put a chain on your property to block that driveway, so your employees could still park in the back, or your customers could park in the back, but they couldn't go through the
They
driveway.
couldn't go up to the front and park. I mean, it doesn't seem
Well,
real.
we can't have both. I mean, you either want to stop
Um,
traffic. You can't just put it up there and say, only my customers and employees get to use this driveway, you know? I mean, it's either everyone or no one. I mean, the vacate is, I'm just not seeing the sense in the vacate.
Yeah. Do you have a motion?
I can make a motion.
Because there's the three options, recommend modification, recommend approval, or recommend denial.
Anyone?
Sam, what is the Lovern's rights as far as locating, let's call it a gate, a chain?
Yeah.
Can they do it towards the, I'd say, the east side of the deck? So the employees can come around and park off of Country Club, that his customers can have from the east side of the deck towards Meacham to park?
Yeah, he has a right to chain, along his side of his property line. He can place the chain that far.
But not across this village property.
Right.
That still leaves right now a 20 by 30 access to drive down through there.
What do y'all think?
I don't see a need for it. And if it's an issue and it's village property, the village should be able to be chained if they needed to.
Yeah. That's kind of what I think.
Okay. Is
There
there,
are utilities in it, and they're not shown on the requested, that's the other thing, is I can't see where those utilities that were noted are on that. If they go down the middle of it, it makes no sense to vacate it at all.
is that do you have a motion in mind? Approval, modification, or denial?
Well, let's see.
Typically need to verbiage this as approval, and then we can,
For this one, since it's a recommendation,
Do we
you
have
just
to,
replace the word approval with denial, if that's
I
what
just
you
didn't know
want to
how.
recommend.
okay.
And then we agree that we're going to recommend it, so it would be still an affirmative vote. So it'd be the same verbiage, just replace either denial, approval, or modification in the suggested motion.
It'll still go to council.
He'll still go to
Still goes
council.
council.
Yep.
yes, I seldom overturn it.
Can we do just based on, I'm asking you, can we just replace the word grant with denial?
It's not a grant, so in 11 should be what you're looking at. I think you're looking at the wrong one.
Yeah.
Probably.
Page 28, it would say, not 28, 29.
29 of 119.
And it would just be replacing the word denial if that's what we recommend. See it?
Okay, I see.
Yep.
All right, well, I'll make the motion. Based on the foregoing findings of fact per 5473 of the village code, I move to recommend denial to the village council for the request to vacate 22,455 square feet of right-of-way along Country Club Drive to be absorbed into the property located at 714 Meacham Drive for case PVC 2023-400 with the conditions stated in the case report.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ball?
Aye.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner McElina?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye,
Motion carries to recommend denial to the village council.
Thank you, sir. Stephanie, I'll have, I think, something for him to sign, right? Or does it just go to village?
Was it village?
You'll still be heard at the December 12th council meeting.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Last quasi judicial we got today. CU 2023-402, 135 Paradise Canyon Drive. This looks like a conditional use. Sam, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Thank you. This here is the property that was recently rezoned to a C2 Community Commercial District at 135 Paradise Canyon Drive with the intent to develop a recreational RV park. The applicant Tanner Irons is here to elaborate on his request.
Hi, sir. Promise to tell the truth, nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about your plans.
It's actually an RV park, mobile home park that has been used for that for years. And basically, we've come back in to get it zoned correctly for you guys. So nothing really changes at this point, other than the rezoning and the conditional use permit.
And this photo that we have here contains all the information about sites, all that good stuff?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that you'd want to add on your application? If not, we'll open it up to public input.
I don't think so.
I have one comment. So just because there is a site plan there, this is a conceptual for the conditional use, we would still require him to come back for site plan approval before development.
Gotcha, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
And Sam, just another clarification, prior use does not indicate or dictate future conditional uses, correct?
No, because the non-conforming use ceased, and so that's why he's back before.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right, we're going to open it up to public input if anybody's for or against this item. Anybody in the crowd? Okay, sounds good. We'll close public input, and then we'll open it up. The commissioners will have questions for you now. So, commissioners, questions for Mr. Irons?
I noticed this, we're converting this property over to an RV type. I noticed you said in your, development standards, you had one dumpster for all of the lots that are there.
That's what's always been there, correct?
Yeah.
That's always, my only question is, do you think it's enough? If your park is full.
I've owned it for 10 years, 11 years, and it's been enough at this point, yes. We've
Now
never had any issues.
it's a different use. Now you're gonna get more turnover if it's RVs, not.
Actually, it was more of an RV. We've had 5 mobile homes in there and the rest were RVs. All the utilities are already in place. They've always been there. So we're not really changing anything as far as that goes. And I don't see any more RVs coming in than what we've had in the past.
Sam?
Commissioner Hall and the commission. During site plan approval, we would go through those steps, and the solid waste director would have an opportunity to weigh in if he thought that additional dumpsters were going to be needed on site. We would handle that at that point and make any modifications to their site plan then.
That's the only thing I saw in there that I said,
Sure.
yeah, I know it's like round.
And that's easy enough to add. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richardson, yeah?
Mr. Irons, on 16, 17, and 18, how do they access those? Is that going to be off the street, off Cedar Creek, or is it going to be? I see you kind of landlocked 16 and 17 there.
Yeah, they access them straight off of the street.
Do they? Okay.
Straight pull in.
Are these short-term, or are you going to allow some long, all short-term? Okay.
And just for
Chairman
my clarification, and then Commissioner Williams, we can get you. We're just determining, should this property be used for either short-term RV or long-term RV in this district, right? That's what we're deciding on today.
I don't even think the duration has any impact on it, just if it should be utilized as a recreational RV park. And then I think that is a good use for this land because a lot of it does have floodplain platted through it. And so it's one of the few uses that can be developed there.
Can't have permanent structures. And there's one across the street, is that behind it to the south? Is that correct?
Yes, they used to be joined.
Okay. So across the river up the hill,
Correct.
or I guess that's not up the hill, but.
It's south and directly across the river.
On the site plan, it calls us Cedar Creek Drive right here, which is not.
It's not, it's.
It's Paradise. I think that's a,
Yeah, I know, and that's what I went, what, Cedar Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Samantha, I have a question for you. On the general requirements under B, number 1, it says property is not 2 acres. It's just under it. is he gonna need a variance to come back for the actual site plan because of this?
No, right now, we're under conditional use, and so the section of the code does say that they need to have the 2 acres, so it's up to your all's discretion since he's very close to that.
Right.
Less than a tenth of an
I'm
acre.
just trying to save him a trip and a permit.
What, may I ask? Yeah.
Commissioner Williams?
What is the floodplain indication for this area, do you know?
I'm sure it's in it.
I think Sam said that it's in the floodplain, so no permanent buildings unless they were greatly
Yeah, no,
modified.
I realize, but it can still only be placed in certain floodplains, and I wondered, perhaps that's also because of ecological concerns with all of the, what do they call it, quick release utilities and sewer accommodations.
Yeah, that's a,
With that, Vicky, we would require that the the RVs are road ready, so that they couldn't have any of that permanent kind of siding around the bottom, the skirting.
Okay,
And they need to
that's
keep the wheels on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's addressed, Sam, and that's addressed further along in the process as they go through the site details and all that sort of stuff? Okay.
Mr. Irons will meet at least one more time with,
For site plan
for site
approval.
plan. Yeah.
So the 16, 17, and 18 he was referring to backing into the street is not necessarily been granted at this point.
No, it's conceptual.
Okay. Because I don't know what the rules are about that at this point. Yeah, that could be a real issue in the summertime, especially on that road.
So really, we're just approving a conditional use for him to bring us another site
To move
plan
forward.
development.
If we think that this property would be good for the health and welfare of the community to be used as a recreational vehicle space, not anything about how it would actually be developed at this point.
Right.
So with that concept in mind, I would entertain a motion for granting this conditional use
Mr. Chairman,
as stated. Yes.
based on the foregoing findings of fact 54-68, 54-148, and 54-100 of the Village Code, I move to grant the requested conditional use approval for case CU-2023-402 with the conditions stated in the case report.
Second.
Motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, we'll move to roll call vote.
Commissioner Bowe,
Aye.
Commissioner Byers,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner McElina,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. You have approval to keep moving on. To meet with us again.
Go spend some money.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think that is the end of our quasi judicial hearings. At this point, we're going to move to our public hearing unless anybody on the board would like a break. If not, we can
Move on.
continue on. Okay. So the next thing that we have, if I can find my agenda, which I can't, obviously. What do we got next? Now we're talking about the MRA, right?
Yeah.
The Meacham Corridor Metropolitan Redevelopment Designation Report.
Yes, so Commissioners, we're bringing this before you all for any recommendations. Within the designation report, you'll see the boundary that has been aligned with public input along with staff recommendations and recommendations from Site Southwest, our contractor on the project. If you all have any recommendations to adjustments of this boundary, it currently goes from the intersection of Sudworth and Meacham all the way up to the top of the Swiss Chalet Hill. So with that, we encompass the Lynx Golf Course, and there isn't any changes in the works, but just to give us that opportunity if something did come up to include that. So that's why you see that within the boundary. Also within these two reports is recommendations and photographs of blighted properties, properties that have been vacant for quite some time. And so if you all have recommendations for this plan, or if anybody in the public has recommendations, we'll be happy to notate those and make the changes before we take it to the village council in December.
And so for us to decide today is just boundaries of where we would recommend for this development corridor.
Yes, if you all see any area that hasn't been encompassed into the boundary, we're looking for those recommendations. And any notes that we can provide to Site Southwest. Since you all know the community very well, we're just looking for input from the Planning Commission.
Well, I would ask this with the blighted properties or dilapidated properties, if this boundary is adopted, can we put into place a quicker clean and lean process to be able to deal with the blighted properties? I mean, I've seen enough that have come to the village before. We've got properties within the village they've been dealing with for 10 years. And this is a highly visible corridor. I wouldn't think you'd want to have blighted properties there for 10 years. So is that a recommendation we can give, or is it something that can be changed going forward? Because it's great to note the properties that are blighted, but if you can't do anything to correct it in a timely manner, you're not gonna get the, I don't think you'll get the interest in the development, or, you know, people drive by and they'll see it. Like I said, most of us here are aware of the ones that the village has been dealing with for over 10 years. So that's just my comment or recommendation, that they do something that would be able to streamline that process, certainly within New Mexico code. And we all know there's other counties that can do it much more efficiently. But if you're going to have blighted properties, you got to have a mechanism to be able to get that resolved so it's attractive to development. That was my only comment on it. Otherwise, I think it's a great idea.
Question for you, Sam, or maybe the folks from Site Southwest. Is there a, maybe not a trade-off, or is there a methodology thought process on what I would say concentrating the corridor rather than, because from Sudworth to the top of Swiss Chalet, that's a very long, narrow strip. Is there an idea or methodology to have it more concentrated in a smaller area? Like, instead of going all the way up past, you know, Farley's and Club Gas, is it better to take that and expand it closer to Sudworth and another MRA?
Commissioner
Do I need to
Rigsby.
swear you in?
No. Yes, okay, yes.
Do you promise not to lie to us, sir?
I do, I promise not to lie. No, Commissioner Rigsby and Commissioners, one of the benefits of having a fully extended MRA versus a concentrated MRA is that you allow for future planning and increased development within an area. And so one of the things that we lack as the village is a long-term master plan for the general development of the area. And what this allows us to do is to also seek further funding for development, for commercial, residential, retail development within those areas, and to truly identify it, to kind of protect and promote those values within the community. As you've heard, there are several concerns and issues of, are we trying to protect the residential areas? That allows you to really kind of focus an area of where you'll see commercial development pop up so that we can kind of steer those entities. The other piece of that is with the MRA and with the new changes to MRA law, you're allowed to work a lot more with public-private relationships and with developments. And so the more land we have as an opportunity to work with those entities or with those business investors, the better off we are as a community to see that initial development happen quickly. The shorter and the smaller pieces that you have, you can miss out on some of those development opportunities. So I know Site Southwest is here, and I believe Carlos is online. He can probably speak a little bit more clear to those items, but as a village, we'd like to see those more advantageous spaces to be able to take advantage of development in the future.
Yeah, and a follow-up question on that. So given that the upper half of this is what I'm going to call it, from Club Gas to Swiss Chalet Hill, has larger tracts of undeveloped land, is that the thought process because you can potentially make changes or develop faster on those larger lots versus if you applied it an MRA designation to certain parts of Upper Canyon or areas where the lots are 1/10 of an acre, it would take more smaller developments? Is that the thought process?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And with the links, I know that there's been a lot of discussion about the links being redeveloped, whether that's into ball fields, additional housing. I mean, the proposals have been wide and varied, and some truthful, some not. Is that the reason that you would like to include it in this?
That is also correct. So it's one of the largest swaths of land that we can utilize as we move into the future. And again, there's nothing to say that there's anything available right now, but with the possibilities that could or couldn't happen, with the engagement of the community, with other master planned approaches that we look at, this at least allows the commission and the council more responsible opportunities to make decisions in the future.
Right. And so with that, I hit the lotto, hypothetically, I wish I did. I could come in and say, hey, I'm gonna redevelop the entire links underneath the MRA guidelines that are coordinated by the state. So if I have enough money and if the village agrees with a certain development plan, what would be the public input, I guess? Help me understand the process of development.
So there'd be a couple of different items. I mean, as the MRA expands, assuming you want to come in as a public-private partnership, you'd be able to approach this commission and the council and be able to turn around and say, this is the project we want to do. And there's new requirements under the MRA and new abilities, I should say, new tools that allow public-private partnerships to use private land, or public land, excuse me, for private development, either to earn investment funds off of, or to completely redress and allow them to take that land as part of the development piece. So it just depends on what the proposal would be, but it at least allows you the opportunity to present the proposal to the village. The engagement side would be, what does this look like for the community moving forward? When we get into the master planned approach for the community, what does the community want this to look like? Do they want it to act as a buffer? Do they want it to be housing? Do they want it to act as more of a commercial retail space? What does that look like? So as we move in those directions, this is definitely something that gives us more leeway to create a better master planned approach as we move forward, rather than kind of spitballing or shotgunning, so to speak, ideas and trying to develop them in that space only.
Just want to add on to that, Carlos Morris, Site Southwest. Exactly as staff have said. This plan, I mean, it doesn't commonly change what the processes are for something like land disposition, for instance. What it really does is it creates a toolbox, and it gives you a lot more tools to start approaching redevelopment. That doesn't mean you have to use all of those tools, right? So some tools you will not want to use. Some kinds of development you will not want to actually support. That's okay. That should be, more clearly defined. Ideally, there would be a lot more community engagement trying to think about, where some of these different strategies are going. For now, I mean, this plan, the designation report, and the plan we're proposing, the main thing it really does is give you a lot of broad tools, and those broad tools can then be refined and used later on. So it's really about creating opportunity rather than, I think, limiting different potential options. And I have a presentation I could go through. I know it's been a little bit already, so we don't have to go into that. The summary of that is we're giving you a bunch of tools and we're giving you a bunch of opportunities. And if I go through all the details, you don't have to use all those, but we could talk about that.
Would you like to see his presentation?
Yeah, the question I have for you, Carlos, I know it said it gives you more tools. Does it also make the process for the changes or going forward more transparent? I mean, that would be the thing that, you don't want to limit transparency and public input and all that, and as long as it doesn't, blunt those things, that'd certainly be a concern, because all of us aren't going to be here, forever. Some of us being older than the rest of you. But you want to be able to have, it's input that you want to have, and that's going to change.
I think a good example of what can be done with this and has been done, Sudderth has an MRA overlay, and so we recently received $230,000, and we were able to put that into the businesses within the Main Street boundary to do facade improvements. And so having this MRA in place gave us the tools to be able to work with private individuals on improvements.
And Commissioner Hall, as Carlos mentioned earlier, this doesn't change the processes to move forward. It only allows us to utilize more tools in that process. So really, the processes can be created to be more transparent as we move forward if there's a need or a want to.
Michael, this is similar to, or this is what the city of Sutherland Park utilized, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Can you speak to the advantages that they've already taken?
Sure. About 3 years ago, the city of Sunland Park created, used, and master planned an area within the community utilizing an MRA. They partnered with public-private partnership areas to bring in business, to create retail spaces, brought in over 35 new businesses. There's a new $30 million entertainment center that's about to go up within the next, should break ground hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months. That's bringing in more of a structure of GRT, but conceptually what that does is it protects the residents from just pop-up commercial areas outside of zoning. It creates a retail space, it creates a commercial space, it creates an industrial space, creates an entertainment space. And so it truly defines the community while protecting the residents and allowing an increase in GRT.
To the tune, what was the financial added portion to the new convention space from the city of Sutherland Park? Do you know?
I don't know what the final was. When I left, we were looking at offsetting a portion utilizing the MRA through a public-private partnership. I believe it was roughly $2 million, but I'm not sure what the final has been since then.
I think this sounds really great, but we're kind of not really seeing the big picture. You can put all this space in there and put all brand new developments and everything else, but we still don't have any workforce housing.
So that's actually the biggest plus for this area. As we look at public-private partnerships, 3 of the areas that are located within the projected MRA space would, depending on the types of projects, whether it's a 9% tax project, whether it's a public-private partnership project, workforce housing is actually something that's being focused on right now. And so as the MRA expands, with the 9% project, for example, on our application, we would receive extra points towards that application approval process when it's reviewed. And so that's one of the main reasons that we're identifying these. As part of another program or project that we're working with, we are working with private investors at the current moment that are extremely interested in the MRA because of the possibility of doing a housing project outside of the permitting or not permit, voucher system or tax percents. They just want a flat out return on ROI if possible. And so this MRA would allow those types of tools to be used to possibly move forward with that. And that would come before this commission as well, so.
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a question? The leaks, I mean, that's the only space that has the biggest amount to put housing. So is that
At this point in time, no, it's not.
Is there opportunity, I mean, I know the village, leases out that, the links, and there's, I think, 5-year renewal options. You guys are able to have that lease under this MRA?
No, the MRA doesn't have anything to do with that. The main focus, as Michael mentioned, would be 1104 Meacham Drive. It's a 5-acre tract just south of P&M that we own, and we're looking to develop 17 units of apartments there. And this would give us additional points on that 9% tax credit application.
17.
Would there be opportunity to purchase, property as a private company to develop under this MRA?
Yes.
And is the lease an option to do that at some point?
So there would be, there is an opportunity currently to purchase land that would be in this MRA for private development. At this point in time, the links is not necessarily on that opportunity, just because there's a current contract that binds the village with that company.
But this, having the MRA does allow the village to analyze the highest and best use of land that we do own, and it does give us an opportunity to sell below appraised value. Currently, by state statute, we're only allowed to sell land at or above appraised value. An MRA designation allows you to sell it for less than in an effort for the betterment of the public.
Commissioners, we weren't able to hear any of the questions. If you want to relay any of those to us, let me know. It sounds like you might have gotten that, but.
Yeah, I think we're okay, Carlos. I think we got our questions addressed.
Sounds good.
This might be a separate conversation. You said 17? I thought that was 56 that was,
72.
oh, I thought you said 17. I was
No.
like, 17? Why are we going back to
Penthouses.
17?
Can you not see very well? Are you okay?
Maybe
Commissioners, thoughts, questions? Carlos, this board seems pretty comfortable with the idea just because we've had it done to Sudworth. I think there was a couple of clarifying questions, but I don't know if we need to go through, Commissioners, the full presentation.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Go by. Yeah.
Commissioner Rigsby, just a clarification, that tract of land is for 72. There is another area where we are looking at a possible 15 homes for
The Rock
development as well, yes.
Those are going to be like cabins, potentially.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Commissioners, I think the proposal we need to, is there language that you gave us for approval? I didn't see that.
If you could recommend adoption to the village council of the MRA designation of Meacham, that would be helpful.
Okay. Anybody want to make that recommendation?
I'll make a motion that we recommend to the village council the adoption of the Meacham redevelopment corridor.
Second.
As presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No discussion. Stephanie, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Commissioner Baugh?
Aye.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner McElina?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's any comments or suggestions, feel free to send those our way.
Thank you. Are you staying on for chapter 54?
Carlos, I think that was a question for you. Are y'all sticking around for chapter 54?
I believe Phyllis is coming on right now.
Okay, great.
Aye.
Are we going to go through the 100 pages? Is that the plan today?
I try to highlight and make everything that we're proposing be changed easy to spot.
Yeah.
And so I think it's flipping through pretty quickly because this is sort of the everything else module.
Okay.
And it includes, the sign ordinance and the landscaping ordinance and the subdivision ordinance. And we were not proposing to change a lot of those. Some of them have been changed recently, like the sign ordinance. So we only are making minor changes, just to update this section. So the things that are, being affected
We're all in red.
are, have to do with forestry management and updating some of those sections. Changing the, name of the person responsible to the, Public Works Director. And also, making some suggestions for financial responsibility related to subdivisions.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that overview. I'm going to check with the board. Do we need a quick break or should we push through? Push through.
Sean's go for it.
All right, Phyllis, let's do it. It looks like everything that was changed is highlighted red for the board, either struck
Yes,
through.
it's highlighted red, and then every section that had to do with financial responsibility also has a yellow highlight.
Okay.
So the first thing that comes up is on page 4 under fuels management, approval, and that, these are all requested changes from the, city forester, the village forester. So it's, just, and I see a typo here, but we can fix those.
Providence, a D instead of an S.
Yeah.
And so this is everything with fuel management that we worked with the appropriate department, right, to ensure that this meets their recommendation?
Yes, these were recommendations that came from them.
Okay.
And so that's why that's
why we made the changes?
yeah, that's what changes we made.
Okay.
So it's really referring back to, and, again, we're gonna have to go through all these sections and be sure they're correct once we've finished everything.
Yeah.
But it's connecting back to, the forestry's, the provisions of that ordinance, or that part of the section.
Great. Any questions on forestry screening? Okay, let's move. I think
And
there's
then
no
the-
questions on that section. I think it looks all good.
Yeah, and then there's some things on page 5. There's some requirements that have to do with screening, and those all came from the forester.
Yeah. So, Phyllis, highlighted on page 7,
Yes, I probably misspoke. Everything that is a section reference that we need to update, those are also highlighted in yellow.
okay,
But I don't think you need to discuss those. It's
No.
just for us to make sure that we correct everything once all of the modules are done and all the numbering is corrected.
okay. And then, so the next big changes, instead of
So the
village
next-
engineer, we're changing public works department?
Yes, and
Okay.
that you will see throughout,
Okay,
Right.
and that's minor.
yes.
And just making sure that the right department is referenced. And you'll see that throughout. And then when we get to subdivision, that's where you will see the changes to the subdivision ordinance. And I should have bookmarked this and didn't, I apologize.
So this would be, I see something about performance bond on
Yes.
page 59 or 121 of our packet. That, I think, is the next change we have.
Yeah, so we put in, there's a reference now to a performance bond. And so we've put in a definition for the performance bond, and this is similar to definitions in other codes and with the state. So it just says it's a bond filed with the village clerk and executed by a surety company that holds a license to do business in the state and is acceptable to the village on a form approved by the village. And I'm recommending that you ask for a bonding of 125% of the cost of the proposed infrastructure. Right now, it's just at cost. But because costs can change, I'm recommending you put in a little bit of a buffer, and this is not uncommon.
Okay.
Okay, my question with that is why 25% and why not 50%? And how often is this performance bond updated or evaluated? I mean, prices in the last 3 years of my working career, I saw steel prices go up well over 130% in 3 years. So I'm like I said, I'm not sure what that number needs to be, but I'd say 25% or at least some sort of evaluation of the bond on a calendar basis to be, you can wind up short 2 years into a project or 3 years into a project. And while I was on the private side, it's a little easier. You just tell somebody they're not going to get their new dump truck this year. But when you're a
121
public entity, if you have to pick up the cost or because the project goes belly up or you need to finish it, I agree with the concept that should be more. I just don't, I think 125% may be low.
Phyllis, is that, sorry.
Because
Commissioner Hall.
there's no reevaluation of that bond amount on any set time period. I know when.
I think 125% is typical. I could look to see if there's anything higher. And also to have it reevaluated if the infrastructure is not built within a certain time frame.
Yeah, that's
But I would want to, unless you have a particular thing that you would like to see here, I would like to look into that and come back with a recommendation.
I agree with you there, Phyllis. It's just, that's just 35 years of being in the heavy construction and mining business to see how, I know how the costs go. I know how our bonds on our old mining properties were. We had to evaluate those with the state or reevaluate cost structures with them at least every 2 years. So, and that would change our bonding requirements. So, that's the only thing. I don't want to see it to a point where if the village gets caught in a default situation with a contractor or subdivision or something like that, and if you have to finish it out, you may not have the money to do it.
Yeah, and that's been true in the last few years. Things kind of moderated, but it definitely has been impacted by, I've seen that too over the years, depending on what was happening globally or if there was a shortage of some material.
Yeah.
So is that okay that I look into that and come back with a recommendation? Are you anxious to make a decision and move on from this in chapter 54 altogether?
I think that's okay to come back with a recommendation on that one. And maybe we
Okay.
can do
Yeah.
remove that from the voting or add it as a recommendation or modification or something.
Okay. And then the other question I had for you is I have that the certification would be by the village council. Does that seem correct? Rather than staff?
Village council or designee, or who they designate would probably be what I'd recommend, but I don't know.
Village council.
I mean, we could say our designee, that would give the council the ability to designate someone on staff.
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah, it gives them flexibility to do that because
Yeah.
not everyone on the council is going to be an expert on that amount. Or they could, or you can have a consultant affirm whatever the costs are presented, that type thing, so.
Let's do
Okay.
designee, Phyllis.
And,
Village
and then
council.
next in the definitions, I just highlighted, this did not change the definition, but we do reference temporary improvements. So those are any improvements that are put in prior to approval of the final and prior to release of the performance bond.
Okay.
So I think, a subdivider could put in some temporary improvements to be able to access lots, but they are still responsible for putting in the final approved improvements before the release of the performance bond.
Makes sense. I think the next one is a performance bond definition on page 69 or 131 in our packet. I think that's just repeating what was stated before, correct?
Right, and so we would change both of these things
To match. Okay.
to match.
Then the
And then you
next
can see
section.
Public Works Director is in here throughout.
Yeah,
Yeah, saw that.
if there are no
Then the
questions.
next changes are on page 74.
Perfect, that's where I was going. Thanks, Phyllis, that's
And-
perfect.
At the bottom, page 74 of my version. I
136
could
of
share my
ours.
screen. Do you want me to do that?
I think it's okay.
All right.
Good, I'm ready.
And that is just referencing some design guides that have been put in place by the village, and just added that those are other considerations in reviewing subdivision design. And they have to do with the standards for public works construction and the standards for roadway design.
Okay. I don't think there's any questions on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure they were referenced so that it was in there. And then the next part is more about the performance bond. It's highlighted in yellow. It starts at the bottom of 75. And that would be the same as what we discussed, is looking at these for an alternative to the 125%. And then I just highlighted, this is not a change, but just that the streets have to be improved as required.
Okay.
Yep.
I tried to highlight for myself really everything that I thought might be affected by the performance bond.
Okay, I don't think there's any questions.
And then on page 82, there's another mention of the other considerations to be sure that the Public Works construction drawings and road design guide is covered.
Yep.
Under water facilities, we highlighted again the requirements for water facilities, and that's just a highlight for pointing out things that would be covered by the performance bond. And then on page 82, we made reference to the New Mexico Environment Department rather than the village engineer for sewage disposal systems, because that's who actually would be reviewing them. The rest of these marks are just getting the Public Works Department. And then we had on page 88, this was from the Public Works Department, that allowed for sewer lines not to be less than 6 inches rather than 8. And that was a request of that staff. On page 88, the reference at the top of the page to cleanouts and lamp holes, that was again asking for review by the village Public Works Department.
Okay.
And then they ask for a minimum horizontal distance of 7 feet between parallel water and sewer lines. And then allowed for a metal sleeve as well as concrete encasement for those. There's another reference to the performance bond. I don't think anything we're talking about will affect this particular statement, but if it does, I will change it. They've also requested from the village engineer or Public Works Department a 50-foot difference rather than 100 for the distance between a well and an absorption field or a tank used as part of an individual listed liquid waste disposal system. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Doesn't seem like it.
I'm not buying a house with a
Why
well
the
50 feet
change?
from the septic system.
Right.
I'm not sure about that one. Is that something we requested or the village requested, Phyllis?
Yes.
Yeah,
That was a state deal.
Requirement?
yeah, is that a local requirement or is that a state, what's the state requirement for that? Do we know?
You know, I do not know.
Septic within a proximity of
To
a
a
well?
well, yeah.
I believe it's at least 100 feet.
If it's the state, you're not gonna be able to do less than that, so I'd just verify that.
Yeah.
If it's 100, if the state says it's 100, it's 100.
Was that a recommended change from our end, from the village ends?
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, you don't wanna be less than what the state EPD, yeah, you don't wanna do that. If the state requirement is 100, that's what it should be.
Okay,
Maybe
we'll verify
less
that
at one
and
time.
bring it back with the rest of the changes that we are confirming.
That'd be great.
Okay, so then the next section, and this is where we included some other changes, are on page 95 and 96 and 97. And then we tied it back to building permits on 98. So these are the changes recommended for the performance bond to get, so it's got the 125% again. Making sure that there's a licensed surety company that's issuing the bond. Making sure it's acceptable to the village and certified by council or their designee, so we'll make that change. And that it has to be satisfactory to the village attorney as to form and sufficiency and manner of execution, so that the reference to the village attorney is not new. It's the rest that's new. And this is just highlighting the sections again that had to do with the bond, but the only changes are those in red.
Okay.
And then in the next, if they fail to complete, that's when you use the bond to build the improvements. So, you know, that's where I think we'd want to make sure that you're satisfied with 125%. And there will be an inspection and an inspection fee. These have not changed.
Yeah, so if this is mostly related to subdivisions and you've got,
Yeah, this is all part of the subdivision ordinance. And then on 97, we said that the improvements had to perform for a period of 1 year following completion, or until the improvements are accepted. And again, we put council and we could put or designee if you prefer.
yeah, I mean, it just gets back, as I said, that's my point in the beginning was, is 125% enough? And if you're developing a subdivision, because I saw this a lot in Georgia, they get 2-3 years into it, the builder goes belly up. You know, you don't want to be on the hook for what's potentially out there, and that's why I asked about, and I didn't see it in the language of the process of when you should reevaluate the completeness of the bond. I mean,
Yeah, I think we would need to add that language. I don't think it's in here right now.
I know it's not in there, at least.
Yeah.
So. Because that's the challenge with these larger, longer projects. I mean, I've seen it happen in my lifetime and in my neighborhood, and I was the benefit of buying a house because of that, but yeah, it leaves the public entity at a disadvantage if they don't have the funds to to at least get to a good point of completion or partial completion.
Okay. So at the bottom of the page, I had questions. The one, kind of, hook that the village has is you can refuse to issue building permits until the infrastructure is acceptable. And if it's a larger subdivision, you could do that in phases, but you would be holding all of the building permits until, you would hold issuing building permits until you had the infrastructure in place. In the county, they tie it back to the filing of the plat, but I think you want to you can, because you issue building permits, you can be restrictive in when you start to issue building permits as a village. Right now, the language of the code also allows for a certificate of occupancy to be what's held up. However, at that point, the developer or home builder or owner has already got a house built. So what is your preference about how that is handled with the infrastructure being acceptable?
I'd say you'd like to have the infrastructure finished before you start putting buildings up.
Yeah.
So my recommendation was going to be to delete the certificates of occupancy as one of the options.
I would almost think that the infrastructure needs to be complete before you do this. We don't want builders coming in that, they may have all good intentions, but they get to a certain point and put the houses in, and then all of a sudden they run out of money, and the rest of the streets
Don't get done.
don't get done.
Been there.
And I think it puts you in a worse position if you have people waiting for a certificate of occupancy and they've built the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you get the infrastructure done and that's completed, then the house, then it just becomes,
Permit.
that gives them the incentive to complete
Then
out
the-
building out the houses.
Right.
Then the building permit comes, huh?
Yeah, then building permit comes and that should take care of that, based on what I understand.
Okay,
All right.
so
I missed-
then that needs to change in D1.
Sounds good. Okay.
And I believe that was it.
Great.
Yeah. So this was not a section that we made a lot of changes. It was just those few things, getting the forestry, the public works comments in, and trying to tighten up the performance bonds.
We don't have much to say through the rest of this, do we?
No, I think that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Any discussion from the commissions? I know that there's a couple things that I think we have jotted down to come back to us
Correct.
with.
Correct.
But outside of those items, which is the performance bond,
The distance to well and
distance to
septic.
wells, I think we could vote on the rest of it. If there's a motion to approve changes. Is that what you guys would want to do? Would you want to do it, would you want to wait, or?
Do you want to just give Phyllis the latitude when she researches what other entities are doing?
And then finish it.
I think it's specific enough that we could give her the latitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. So Phyllis, the latitude is adhere or consistent with state standards for the well distance, and then consistent with other entities for the performance bond percentage. So if it's 125% or more.
And whether or not those are reviewed,
And the reviewability.
reviewability of those performance bonds.
And do you want this
They
to come
should.
back to you, or do you want it to move on to the village council?
We were gonna grant you the that latitude and vote to approve changes
Right.
with that. So that way it wouldn't come back to us.
Okay, well, we can or Sam and Stephanie can let you know what we did, but we'll carry it forward.
We still need a motion and a second to,
So moved.
Second.
okay. Stephanie, is that copacetic with our minutes? Perfect.
Yeah, so I was gonna state, that, request Phyllis to ensure consistency with state statutes on laws and recommendations, as stated in the module for approval to the council.
In the well distance.
And the
Oh, well,
distance of the septic, between the septic system and the well.
Bonds.
Make it
Okay.
compatible with state standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Byers?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner McElina?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rigsby?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sweet. I think those were all of the agenda items we had, just community development report, and then any commissioner comments. So Sam, anything to report?
No, you all have an enclosed copy of what was submitted to the governing body for the month of September. Just wanted to point out that the recommendation for denial for the rezone of 207 Eagle Drive was approved for rezone by the governing body. So if y'all notice commercial activity there, that's why.
That was the one
Oh, the one that, oh, yeah.
backs up down by the river.
And then another highlight, short-term rental permits are still increasing quickly. I think we're closer to 1,450 right now. And then, we had 13 business registrations issued in September.
Do you have any reports on how many complaints you get about nightly rentals?
I don't, but we could,
You can
Bring-
generate that?
we'd have to get with dispatch and ask them for their call.
I'd just be curious to know.
We haven't recently had any that were continuous where we had to take action on the permittee, but I'm sure they pop up noise and whatnot. And sometimes they're not documented. And so we have ran into that as well. But we could definitely look into that and bring that back.
Which one was that, Barton?
He was asking for complaints
How many
against short-term
complaints?
rentals.
Yeah.
Do you want to see for the last 12 months or what time frame do you want
I
to see?
just was curious on a monthly basis, what kind of complaint volume.
Yeah, some of it will show up on the, well, if the,
I handle mine myself, so I ain't fall asleep. Seems to be, there's a house right there around the corner from me that's become a STR. Apparently, 2 weekends in a row, the same people rented it, and they proceeded to let their kids run all over my place and down, throwing rocks at my vehicles on the property, and I took care of it. No sense of calling the police and using that resource, I mean.
Got a new garden, do you?
Yeah, Josh, I don't think you should admit that stuff on record there.
Sorry, it was not on record.
I have a lot of heavy
So
equipment.
what was that rezone? The sanctuary, the one that was there? And
They approved it. They approved it.
Okay.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see, because, yeah, you've got the database from the dispatch, the non-emergency dispatch, and then whatever may or may not be reported by the management company.
Yeah.
If there is one.
Yeah, if there is one, but if it gets bad enough, dispatch does come out, trust me. You know that.
Anything else, Sam, before we totally get off track? Okay, commissioners, any comments, any reports?
Absolutely.
I hope everybody voted today, if you're in the village, voted on the bond.
Good.
Good deal.
Yep, voting day.
I won't use this as an opportunity to campaign for certain individuals. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then, if there's nothing else.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I second.
Got a second? I think we'll do it without a roll call. I think everybody approves.
Yes. Everybody yell it.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Now 5:30?
I'll be able to tell when I'm trying to get in.
2 hours? Isn't there some type of